You guys are gonna love all 3 of these mouth-watering one-pot chicken dishes. Don't miss any of these delicious recipes coming at you now. Tonight we're gonna make a one-pot Cajun chicken pasta, but don't let the word Cajun fool you, or don't let the word Cajun scare you, I should say. You can make this as spicy as you want. You can take out all the cayenne pepper, so it's really not gonna be spicy at all. It's completely up to you and what you like, you know, how much heat you like in your food. I'm gonna use chicken thighs because we kind of have an abundance of that right now. So feel free to use chicken breast, chicken thighs, whatever your preference is on this. We've actually made something very similar to this and used sausage, and it was so delicious. So you could definitely use that too. Let's make up this sort of Cajun seasoning. But again, feel free to adjust all these spices so that you don't have to worry about it being too spicy or not spicy enough. I am starting with paprika, and this is one that I really just love. Oh man, this doesn't fit in there. Okay, we're going with 2 teaspoons. I should really switch hands because that's gonna end up poorly. Oh, still did anyway. I'll go a little less on the 2nd teaspoon since that was a heaping teaspoon for sure. We need 1 teaspoon of oregano, and it looks like I'm almost out of this one. I think fortunately I have a refill packet from my last Thrive Market order. So 1 teaspoon. 1 teaspoon of thyme. One thing that I can say about this recipe, this Cajun pasta, the flavors, this is packed full of flavor. You are not gonna eat this and think, man, that was kind of dull or kind of bland. No. All right, let's switch to our 1/2 teaspoon measurer, and we are going to do a 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. And we will do a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. Now the recipe says to use a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I disagree with that. I do think that you should go closer to a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So I'm gonna go with that. Feel free to adjust that. If that's too much for you, that's totally fine. And I'm gonna pull out my 1/4 teaspoon measurer. This is where your heat happens, okay? So this is cayenne pepper, very spicy. So if you do not want a lot of heat, you can adjust this one. I am gonna do a 1/4 teaspoon, which is not too much. Feel free to adjust that down. I mean, you guys have seen before that I've taken cayenne and literally went like this. And I'm done because I wanna make sure it's not too spicy for our kids. I know what this one ends up like with all the other flavors that are going in there, so I'm comfortable with that 1/4 teaspoon. I'm just gonna take a fork and whisk all of this together. Okay, now we can set this to the side, but as I cut up my chicken, which I'm gonna be cubing it up, I'm gonna go ahead and throw it right in there, and we're gonna toss the chicken in the seasoning, in that Cajun seasoning. Okay, especially with chicken thighs, I do like to go through and trim off fat. I'm not a fan of the fat, but I love chicken thighs. So I'm just gonna cut these into little bite-sized pieces. Feel free to, you know, cut however large. You could do strips if you wanted to. Okay, let's toss the chicken in this lovely spice mix that we have here, making sure to coat the chicken. We wanna get all those amazing spices all over the chicken. Pretty much at this point, everything is gonna be done over at the stovetop, so I'm gonna move over there. We're gonna get everything out and ready to go. It's a 1-pot thing, so I'm gonna pull out my big pot and we're gonna get this going. Let's turn our heat on, and I'm gonna go like a medium heat. I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of oil into my pot. I'm using avocado oil, but feel free to use whatever kind of oil you prefer. And let's add in about a tablespoon of butter. Okay, so we're starting on this medium heat. Oh, that's not the one I wanted. This is the one I wanted. Okay, so we're gonna let the butter melt, and then I'm gonna crank up the heat a little bit to more of like a medium high. We want the butter to get nice and foamy so we know it is nice and hot. Okay, we want our pot to be hot. Okay, so I'm gonna turn that heat up to like a medium high. It's starting to bubble already, which is awesome. See how our butter is nice and foamy? That's what you want. Okay, let's take the chicken. Since we've got good heat here, I'm gonna add it in and get it browning. I do want to separate it. I don't want it to be all clumped together like that because I want it to get some color on all sides. So we don't want it to be overcrowded. Now you don't have to cook the chicken all the way through at this point. It's gonna have plenty of time to cook. So So you're just trying to get a nice char. Not char, sear. That's the word I'm looking for. Oh man, this smells amazing, y'all. Oh my goodness. You could individually flip each one of these pieces, but you know, I'm gonna take the shortcut method. I see some beautiful color. Now, the recipe does not call for this, but I do really enjoy adding a little bit of minced garlic. I like to wait until this point though, when we're about to add some other ingredients, because I don't want the garlic to be in there too long and then it burns. At this point, if you're adding onion, you would want to go ahead and do that now. Let those onions get softened, maybe even before adding the garlic, honestly. But you guys know, we're not adding onion. Oh, you know what I just realized? I don't have any green onion for the top, and it would look so pretty on the top of this one. Let's turn the heat back down to medium. That is a good amount of cook on that chicken right now. I do want to add in a can of fire roasted diced tomatoes. You can use the non-fire roasted kind if that's what you prefer, but I'm telling you, the fire roasted just adds a whole different element of flavor. I'm almost to the point now where I opt to do fire roasted over regular diced tomatoes if I can, because they're just so good. And in addition to that, we are going to add 2 cups of chicken bone broth. Feel free to use beef. So we are adding 2 cups. Oh, and I did not drain those tomatoes. I don't know if I said that. Okay, got all that in. So we are going to, I actually didn't need to turn my heat down. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm gonna keep my heat up or turn it back up. Mix everything together. Let's put a lid on this just to bring it up to a boil. It'll just come up to a boil faster. Also, I didn't say it before, but I'm only making 4 servings of this just because I've already planned out everything that we need for the week. If you know you're gonna like the flavors, go ahead and double this, because even with this recipe, with making the amount for 4, I'm using a half box of pasta. So if you're the type of person that's like, you know what, I'd rather use the whole box of pasta and not have to worry about it, or if you have a larger family, obviously, than 4, it's really good and it also reheats well. Okay, we are boiling. We have a nice boil. Let's add in that half box of pasta. Oh, I totally forgot that I had these kind of noodles. So they have some green in them, which is gonna be great since I don't have that green onion. It will add that element of color. Okay, so like I said, this is boiling. We're gonna turn down our heat to a medium low. And we're gonna let the pasta simmer for about 10 minutes. You do want to stir this occasionally just to make sure that nothing sticks together. It's going to be so good. All right, you can see all of the liquid has been absorbed. I'm going to add about 2 ounces of cream cheese into this. All right, so we're just mixing in that cream cheese, and really once that's melted in, it's going to be good to go. We're ready to eat. This looks so good. I did find just a touch of green onion in the fridge, so it was the perfect amount. Let's give it a little try. Very good. Absolutely, you can add some more cayenne to this, but I like spice and my husband really likes spice and the kids aren't too sensitive to it. They will eat it to a degree, but it's really not spicy with that 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne. So if you are afraid of it being too spicy, it's not gonna be with that. Very good flavors. Definitely a winner. Tonight for dinner, we are making this broccoli cheddar noodle style casserole. It's all gonna go into my Dutch oven. So you could call this a casserole, you could call it a 1-pot dinner, whatever you wanna call it, but it's all gonna be right here on the stovetop, and then we're gonna pop it into the oven. But all you need is this one thing. If you have an oven-safe casserole dish, you can make it in that too, but I just figured my Dutch oven would be easy enough. All right, so the first thing that we need to do is go ahead and turn our oven onto 425, and then I'm gonna add just a touch of oil here to the bottom of my pan. I'm doing like a half tablespoon or so. You could do more if you feel like you're gonna need more. And then we are gonna add in some carrots. Oh, but we should probably turn the stove on because nothing's gonna happen without it. All right, so we've got it on medium-ish high. Let me get that heated up just for a second before we throw in these carrots. All right, now I used avocado oil, but feel free to use whatever kind of oil you prefer. Let's take some carrots and put those in. I went ahead and peeled and chopped these just for the purpose of making sure things run smoothly. If you were adding onion, this is where you would also add the onion and just let that cook up as well, softening up just a bit. So we're gonna let this cook just for about 5 minutes. and let this just get like a nice saute on it. It's already smelling good with the avocado oil in there. I walked away to cut chicken and I cut my fingers. All right, so we've got chicken that is cut into bite-sized pieces. I'm gonna put that all in here. And I'm going to season the chicken with some salt and just a little bit of pepper, not too much. I'm also gonna add about a teaspoon of garlic powder to this. So I'm not measuring this. You guys know I often do this by sight, but please feel free to measure. And let's add about 2 tablespoons of butter. Ooh, not that one, that would be too much. And I'm just gonna let this chicken cook for just a minute, adding that butter in there. It's gonna help it to saute a bit, although I had turned my heat down, so probably should have that back up. Just mix it around a little bit. Ooh, goodness, y'all, it smells so good right now. We're gonna start adding in all of our different spices. So let's add a little bit of thyme. We're gonna add, actually it's not a little bit, it's actually a lot of thyme. 2 teaspoons or so. Some paprika, I love the smokiness of this. You do want about a teaspoon of that. We are adding just a touch of cayenne pepper. Feel free to add as much as you want, but this is really an 1/8 teaspoon or so. Mix that together. Look at the color on that chicken because of all those flavors and spices. This is what you want to see, you guys. This is going to be so delicious. At this point, we're just letting it saute for 2 to 3 minutes. It's just getting some color. As you can hear, the oven is ready. Man, this smells so good. Oh my goodness, this is gonna be delicious. I know it already. I'm gonna add in some bone broth. If you wanna use chicken broth, that's totally fine. We are gonna add in 2 cups. While that's in there, I'm just gonna scrape the bottom a little bit just in case there's anything stuck to the bottom, because anything that's there is flavor. So we're gonna do that. And we also need to add in 1.5 cups of milk. And we're gonna bring this up to a light boil. So just let that work for a minute until we get there. All right, we have a gentle boil going on here. So we're gonna add in some broccoli. We need about 3 cups. I chopped up 2 heads of broccoli. So I'm gonna add all that in. I really don't want this leaf in there though, so I'm gonna pull that out. And you are supposed to use a short, shortcut pasta. I chose this rotini. I don't know, I felt like it would be fun. So we're gonna add in rotini pasta, the whole pound. Now I'm gonna season this again with salt, just to make sure that we have good flavor. And I'm gonna splash it up on my shirt because obviously that's what we do here. Continue to cook this until the pasta has absorbed all the broth. It's gonna take about 8 to 10 minutes or so. I do have this on a low boil. We're gonna keep it there. The recipe that I found does not say that you have to cover it or anything. So we're gonna leave it just like this and let that pasta cook. Oh, it does say to stir it frequently though. I did put a lid on it. I did feel like all the liquid was escaping too easily and the pasta wasn't gonna get all the way cooked. So it's been cooking for about 4 minutes. I'm just gonna put the lid on for 2 to 3 minutes and then take it back off. I feel like even just like 2 minutes with the lid on made a huge difference. So it's still cooking. There's still quite a bit of liquid in there. So we're not gonna stop the process. I've got some cheddar cheese here. This is our favorite Kerrygold cheddar cheese. I'm gonna add in about a cup into the mixture. We'll mix all of that together. Let's go ahead and turn our heat off. We don't need that on anymore. Okay, mix in. Okay, now obviously you can transfer to an oven safe dish if you want to, but that is why I made I made this in my Dutch oven because it can cook right in the oven in this. We're going to top with a little bit more cheese, about a 1/3 cup or so. And then this is gonna go into the oven for about 20 minutes. It might not even take quite that long since it's at 425 and everything is cooked. This is just going to brown the cheese on top, get everything to kind of like work together. It's gonna be really delicious. Okay, so I left mine in for about 14 minutes. You could definitely leave it in longer if you really want to brown your cheese on the top. I'm good with the way that this is, plus everybody's hungry. So we're gonna go ahead and serve this up. It does look really pretty. I love all the colors. Let's see what this looks like served up on a plate. I love all the colors. I love pasta. I'm pretty excited about all the flavors in this one. It looks really delicious. I feel like everybody is gonna love this one tonight. I'm fully expecting it to be a winner in my house. Let's just give a little bit of try. This has great flavor. I mean, it's loaded with flavor, which is so awesome. I love this. Plus it's all in one pot. That's the best thing. You guys know how much I love one pot things that can all be made, and then I just don't have to worry about washing a bunch of different stuff. Let me see. I wanna see how done the carrots are. They're perfection. I almost think you could leave the broccoli out a little longer because it's actually still a little crispy, which is good. So maybe you wouldn't leave the broccoli out. This is very good. This is very good. Like, I'm really hoping we have leftovers so I can eat it for lunch tomorrow. Tonight for dinner, we are gonna make this creamy Parmesan chicken and rice meal. It's really happening all in one pot, which you guys know I love. So amazing. Everything is done over on the stovetop though, so let's hop on over there and get it done. Let's go ahead and turn this on. So we're going for like a medium-high heat at this point, and I'm gonna be using avocado oil, but you can feel free to use whatever oil you prefer. Just a little bit here in the bottom of our pan. I'm gonna get that nice and heated before we put our chicken tenders in there. Now, this is just 2 pretty large chicken breasts that I've cut into tender size pieces, but you can buy them in the grocery store already like that. If that's something that you wanna do, totally fine. Now, we do wanna get our skillet kind of hot because the chicken tenders are gonna saute a bit in here. So I wanna make sure, even though it's a medium-high heat, I do wanna make sure we're gonna get like that nice color on them when we drop them in. Okay, so we're gonna put these in, season. Ooh yeah, that's what we wanna hear. We're gonna season them with salt, pepper, and garlic powder so that we make sure we've got really good flavor on these. Once we cook them, we're adding them to a plate because we're gonna make some other stuff here in this skillet. The recipe calls for a full stick of butter. I'm actually gonna go with just around half, maybe a little more than half. I'm gonna let this melt, and then I'm gonna add in some minced garlic to this, about a tablespoon. You could go less. I know that's a lot, so don't feel like you have to do that much. And we are going to add a touch of red pepper flakes. Now remember, these are spicy, so when I say a touch, that's usually what I mean. You do wanna scrape the bottom of your pan. That's gonna help get any of those leftover little chicken sauteed pieces up, but that is such good flavor, so you don't wanna toss it, you want it to be in there. Okay, so this really just needs to saute for just a couple of minutes. Let's add just a little bit of salt to this as well, so about a half teaspoon or so. Now my heat's been on a low, almost low. We're gonna crank this up to like a medium high, and I am gonna add a little bit of white wine. A Pinot Grigio is probably your best option for this. We're adding about a half cup. This is gonna cook for about 5 minutes. We will remove a couple of tablespoons of it, set it to the side so that we can use it for later though. We just wanna let the alcohol kind of cook out. Let's pull out a few tablespoons of this so that we have it. I'm just gonna put it here into a little bowl. Actually, I'm gonna have to get creative with this here. Now we are gonna take 1.5 cups of uncooked rice and put this into our butter mixture. I did soak my rice, but that's just because that's what we normally do. It's been soaking all day just in water, and then I rinsed it really well. Feel free to do that however you want. It is not something you have to do. This is just how we usually make our rice. Okay, now we wanna thoroughly mix this in that butter sauce. We are gonna add some bone broth. Feel free to use chicken broth, but we need to add 3 cups of this. Bring this to a low boil. and then we can move to our next step, but let's get there first. So I'm gonna crank up the heat just a little bit for that purpose. Okay, we've got that low boil. So I am gonna reduce this just a little bit. We want it to simmer, but let's just reduce the heat a bit. We're gonna put a lid on this and set a timer for 20 minutes. I will stir it occasionally in that 20 minutes though. All right, we've been stirring periodically. This has about 1 minute left. It's looking really good. I'm gonna turn my heat off. Don't need it on at all anymore. We have about a 1/2 cup of shredded Parmesan. We're just gonna sprinkle some of this on, and then I'm gonna mix it in. Give it a toss here. And then I'm gonna sprinkle the rest over the top. We want to take that chicken and just kind of nestle back in. We're going to cover this and just let it, I'm gonna move it off the heat completely and just let this sit for about 5 minutes before we serve. We're gonna take some green onion just for color on the top. Now remember, we have that reserved sauce. So we're gonna take that sauce, just give it a little mix again, and just pour a little bit over the top. Look how delicious this chicken and rice Parmesan looks. I'm gonna cut a little piece of chicken, get a little bite of rice. So delicious. The flavors of this are very good. You get that hint of Parmesan. You can definitely taste the garlic and the butter. It's very, very good. Not very difficult to make. Everything made over there on the stovetop in one pot. Not very many dishes to wash, which is fantastic. This is really good. Our verse today comes from Matthew 6, starting at verse 19. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourself treasures in heaven where neither moth nor rust destroys and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully it helps you have less dishes this week as you're planning your meals. You guys know we love one-pot things. You've got less dishes, less mess, less cleanup, more enjoyable time. I hope you're having a great week, and if you need more inspiration, click that video above. You're gonna get even more there.